All right, at long last, we are here. Andy Lindahl, Jeb Putzier, and I say long last because I've had more requests for a Bronco podcast. And so finally we're going to get you on here. And I don't know, man, we might as well get right into it. We're hanging out at Big Bill's this week, which is a new location for us. So Big Bill's is off of County Line in Holly, and you've got to come by here and see it, although it's lunch hour and he's packed. But you won't meet a better man than Big Bill. We might have to get him on the podcast.
Oh, he would be great. My little interaction I had with him, I think he'd be great.
He is. Doug Moe hangs out here. George Karl hangs out here. I mean, if there's a Nugget celebrity basketball royalty, they tend to come here. But anyway, just a great guy. All right, man, you and I are on a little bit limited time because you got to go hang out with Bailey and do some fun things on 93.3 here.
I have to go do a psychic reading.
Yeah, okay, so now what? Why did she pick you? Why did Bailey pick you?
I don't know. Maybe she's hoping to cheer me up. I've been down the dumps lately, so she's like, maybe if you get a reading and hear from one of your relatives, like, what's up? I don't know.
Now, wait a minute. So is it a – see, I don't get any of that. And I promise we're going to get to Broncos. This is going to be mainly Broncos. But are they going to try to contact someone to talk to you?
I don't know, but I think that's kind of what they do, or they guess someone's letter of their name, and then I go, oh, yeah, I know someone that's died, which I know a lot of people have died, so I think I know every letter of the alphabet. Be like, yep, I can do that.
So we'll see how legitimate it is. Hey, it ought to be fun anyway, right? All right, so let's get into it because, again, a lot of people on Twitter have been asking me, what do we think of the signings? What do you think of the Broncos did so far? You and I did a podcast. The last podcast we did together was on Joe Flacco. Do you want to recap for those? And if you missed it, it's on the After Hours feed. Just go back and find it. It's titled Joe Flacco. But just kind of recap for everybody. And maybe you've even had a time to think about it and feel, whatever you feel about it. You didn't hate the move, but you didn't love the move when we talked a month ago when they, kind of got the trade put together. But how are you feeling about it now?
I still want to see what they're going to run. I mean, this has been a mishmash of offenses since Peyton left, even with some of his stuff in there. So I think now they have a guy that can throw the ball down the field, which is something they wanted to do. Paxton could do that, but he wasn't the worker that they needed. Trevor and Case, they have good arms, but not that arm like Joe Flacco. So maybe they're trying to switch this around to where, almost like the Rams, you get that run game going, and then you're getting that play action, get the ball down. Cortland Sutton, great ball player, but he seems to have one route, an Ashley Lee type player to where go, and I'm going to throw the ball up to you. So I want to see what they're trying to do with this offense. And so I've kind of gravitated to okay, but I'm still not that much of an upgrade from our previous two starters.
See, here's the thing for me. Look, I love the Flacco move if you solidify the center of your line. But you now lost Matt Paradis. I can't tell you that I love Connor McGovern as a center just yet. I don't know. I mean, I was just beginning to like him as a guard, and now you got him at center. Now, the good news is they are going to go with the Rich Scangarello is going to run a version of the Kyle Shanahan offense. So I think when you talk about the Rams offense, I think that's what they're hoping it looks like. A good running game where we take shots downfield. John Elway wants to go downfield. You brought that up with the arm with Flacco, so I do think that's why it's a good fit. But, man, I got to be more I don't know that I believe you've got your full starting lineup there yet. Ron Leary, I love Ron Leary. But you know what? Ron Leary's hurt, man. And the whole reason why Ron Leary's even on the roster is because he's got an injury guarantee. If he didn't have an injury guarantee, I would put dollars to donuts down that they would have let him go. So that doesn't you may have your starting left guard, but I don't know if you want him to be your starting left guard or if you had a choice. And we'll see how Juwan James works out. But and look, Wilkinson did some fine things as a guard there. And I think if you had a healthy Matt Paradis back, because I will tell you this, I love Matt Paradis. You and I both do.
Look, there's been two players ever to walk on to Boise State and get drafted by the Denver Broncos.
Jeb Putzier
and Matt Paradis. So, of course.
Yeah.
I love them.
But that said, look, I think they have right to be concerned about the leg injury and its recovery. You can't be positive. I mean, it was a nasty leg injury. I hope nothing but the best for Matt. I hope he's the starter his whole time in Carolina. But I do think, just to be fair to the Broncos, it was fair for them to have some reservations before paying him $9 million a year.
Yep.
So that said, but my point was, if you had a healthy Matt Paradis, Jeb, then I'd be okay with this lineup that you've got going. But right now, Connor's going to now have to switch and learn a little bit more. Center, who knows? Maybe Sam Jones surprises us, the old ASU kid out of Highlands Ranch they drafted last year. Maybe he does something, but, I don't have to tell you the importance of fixing especially the middle of that offensive line if this is going to work.
Well, and that's how you're going to attack this team, making Joe Flacco run. Joe Flacco's not the best athlete. He's not better than the last guys we've had. So you got to worry about him getting that ball out quick, and that makes it harder to get those deep balls down the field.
So what do you think? I mean, would you be in favor of them drafting? Let me put it this way. If you were to draft a young guy, which I think they're going to have to do, how much do you trust that young guy? Because I'll tell you this, I don't think they're taking a center or guard at 10, right?
No way.
Maybe they trade down, but if I tell you they draft a guy in the second or third round, I mean, how much confidence can really have that kid comes in and factors in?
Not a ton yet, but again, it depends on this offense. They're not going to dumb it down. That's part of the reason why they're bringing in Joe Flacco too. They have to explore this whole offense and what they can all do. So you can't just bring someone in and bring them along. He needs to come in here and help this team right now, because that's been the biggest weakness for a long time, and they still have not solidified it. So that's what you're going to be looking at, a guy that can actually come in and do this. So you have to start looking at also schools that maybe run a similar offense to this West Coast versus just a power team like an Alabama or something like that. A guy who can really come in and see the verbiage, feel it, and feel his team. So there's a lot to say about just bringing a guy in and saying, "Oh, you're going to be the starter as a second or third round pick in the middle of this lineup." It's not like that. And now you're also going against men. And when you have to go against the Kansas City defensive tackle, Chris Jones,
yep,
that's a different story than any guy you've ever played against.
Yeah, see, it just continues to get more and more interesting. I don't even need to think about it that way. I mean, your point, when you talk about bringing in for the right system, why was Ryan Clady able to step right in and start? Because you guys ran a zone blocking system at Boise State. I mean, Mike Shanahan told us that this kid already knows what we're doing. And, I mean, how many college zone blocking systems are out there?
Not a ton, but even the verbiage. A lot of my coaches, Coach Cutter, Coach Peterson, the OCs we had, they went to the 49ers and already knew Coach Shanahan. And so when I heard the word smash, I already knew what everybody was doing, and it helped me get a leg up to help be on the team at least. I wasn't playing behind I was playing behind Sharp, so I wasn't playing a lot, but I at least could go into the practice, and they could trust that I knew what was going on. Now, someone like Josh McDaniels comes in, smash, that means something for the run game. So it's a totally different thing. You got to start thinking about stuff, and you become more robotic instead of just going out there and running and being the athlete you are. So when you have guys that have to think about stuff, it makes it really tough.
I don't know, Jeb. I mean, look, you know me. I always want to be optimistic about the Broncos. And look, for the most part, I think with the coaching staff you've assembled, with the changes you've made in the secondary that we'll get to in a second, and with Joe Flacco in there, I think this could be an 8-8 team. If I'm just going off gut right now, I think you can maybe get 8-8. A couple things go right, it's 9-7. A lot of things go right. It's probably 10-6 to me is a ceiling for this thing. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe they draft a linebacker. That becomes the Roquan Smith of this unit. Maybe it's the kid out of the LSU, the linebacker White, and you just go from there and you become a really special defense. But for me, Jeb, I mean, this is what I think Bronco fans have to accept. No matter what happens, even at 10, you're not going to solve all the problems this team has in one offseason.
No, you're not. But we're also not looking at other things. That's something that Philip Lindsay really helped that people aren't going to see. All the undrafted free agents, if they hear, the Broncos really need a linebacker or a safety, as a free agent, look what they did with Philip Lindsay last year. Look, they gave him an opportunity. Now, if you go to some teams, you're not going to have that same – you're going to have an opportunity to be on their practice squad. The Broncos are giving guys opportunities, and look what's happening. So I think that's another factor is don't just look at these first rounds as they need these starters. This whole draft needs to be solid again like last couple years' drafts have been.
What's your take on Juwan James? Look, we're here on the podcast, and it's so funny because people are like, hey, now you can be honest. Well, I was always honest, I felt like, with my Bronco opinion. And a lot of it was wait and see. With Juwan James, for me, I want to believe something good's going to happen there. I really do. And I'm hopeful that I think this is the best prospect you've had to play right tackle for you in a number of years. I don't even know how far back you go. Probably the last real good veteran guy that you have, and I can't even remember who that was. Maybe Chris Clark of the 2013 Broncos. That's at least the first name that pops up, right?
I'm going all the way back to Ephraim Salaam.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Lepsis, Matt Lepsis was our right tackle when Ephraim was our left tackle. So Matt Lepsis.
Fair enough, man. Dude, it could be that far.
Round, George Foster, and George didn't really pan out.
No. Now, was he right? He was left, though, right?
No, he was right.
He was right tackle?
And he didn't play the whole first year.
Well, he had an injury. I can remember Bob Beers telling me about this wrist injury where he couldn't bend his hand like you'd want him to for an offensive lineman. Anyway, my point being, look, I'm hopeful for Juwan James, but you can't ignore that at times Juwan James' motor wasn't always running in Miami the way they wanted it to. And there's a reason why this guy, you and I, would you not say, for me with free agency, there's a couple diamonds there's Darian Stewart's out there that you can give a modest contract to and he outperforms it. But for the most part, I get real nervous about the big boomer bust signing on the first day.
Oh, absolutely. I think about they were talking about Tyrann Mathieu with the Chiefs, and I thought the same thing. And everything going on with Cleveland, I'm like, whoa, everybody needs to pump the brakes. Because until these guys get in this system, because I know Adam Gase's system very well, it's a different system than here. So is he going to transition into this well? And, again, till we know exactly this offense, and I want to see it and see how guys are, if they're copacetic with it, if they feel it. That's the biggest thing with this offense. You got to feel with the guy next to you. And I don't know how much he got of that while in Miami with that Gase's system. So bringing a new guy in like that to get that feel, fortunately, they're going to get a lot of opportunities to do that with an extra preseason game. But it's just tough to say right now until I see it. Everybody's good somewhere else, but when you come into a new situation and now you've got money, are you a little relaxed or do you still have that chip on your shoulder?
Maybe explain for everybody, because I forgot about that. You went from the Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak, Kyle Shanahan system to the Adam Gase, Josh McDaniels kind of Patriot system. How different are the two?
Very different. How you read an offense, how you set other people up. It's more about levels compared to a 1, 2, 3. Like you're looking at what the defense is giving you and going through your progressions, where they're trying to set up a lot of stuff in levels.
On Adam Gase's offense.
Yes. And with an offensive line, you're getting a lot more one-on-one. And when you're blocking and stuff, where I felt like with the zone, we're working together, us two versus those two. And if this guy comes in our section, we go get him. And so it's just they've both been successful throughout football, obviously, over the years. It's just whatever type of guys you have to come in there. It's like myself, had I been drafted by the Steelers, that would have been ridiculous because I didn't fit that system at all. I was a West Coast tight end for sure. And there's just certain guys that are better at that. I remember Bobby Turner, now the running back coach for the 49ers, many years here. He's coached some of the best tailbacks ever. He told me one day when we were doing workouts, he's like, yeah, Barry Sanders wouldn't have made it here. We're one cut and downhill, and he's out there running around doing all this stuff. That doesn't work for us.
See, system fit is such a big deal, and you bring up the tight end and what you would have been in other places, so why not get to your old position as we continue to recap the free agents here, talking with former Bronco tight end Jeb Putzier. They bring back Jeff Hireman. And look, no one's going to sit here and tell you the Hireman thing has gone the way that anybody's wanted it to. Now, I keep hoping that he's going to finally be what they saw him to be, because I can tell you this, they were ecstatic when they drafted him. They're ecstatic. They felt like they got a steal in the third round. He blows up his knee in the rookie camp. He's never the same. And I feel like we saw some flashes at points last year, but I don't know about you, man. I was getting more excited about Jake Butt than I was about Hireman.
Oh,
and now I don't know what to expect out of Jake Butt.
Yeah, you don't. I think 2 years now in a row he's been out. He needs to prove himself to stay healthy, which is always a tough thing to do. Hireman's the same way, though. He always has little nicks. Or hamstring, if I remember right.
And now he's had another knee.
Yeah, so tremendous athlete, I will say that. He would fit great as a tiger or the H-back for when two tight end sets to move around and do things like that, make mismatches. But how many games are we going to get out of him? Can he stay healthy? It's just crazy. And with this team right now, there's no depth. That's what I worried about last year. I was like, this team could be a 10-6 team or a 6-10 team depending on health. And that's really what happened. Once Chris Harris Jr. and Emmanuel went down, that second tier just went downhill for this team.
What do you think is it TJ Hochstein? Is that the kid's name out of Iowa? Would you be okay?
There's two of them. Yeah, there's two tight ends first round supposedly from Iowa.
Would you be okay if they took a tight end at 10? Is that a position that you draft at 10?
Well, again, I need to watch more film. I don't know how you have two tight ends that don't win a national championship that are going in the first round. But that's me. I, again, need to watch more on them to see. I think of Iowa not as a team that or a system that maybe fits here. So I want to see that. You just re-signed Hireman. They're still high on Jake Butt. He's still a good talent. So we got our spots. Are you going to bring a guy in and push him in at tight end in the first round? I don't see that being a position that they would go. I think see other needs more than that right now.
Well, To me, you got to get. And I will say this to your point. And we talked to a kid, and I'll never forget his name because it's an old Avs defenseman name. Ryan Wilson was his name from CBSSports.com. He does a lot of their mock drafts. He's been a scout for a while. He said this is a deep draft at tight end.
Exactly.
If you need a kind of change the spacing kind of tight end, as we talk about, you can get one here. But you got to find Joe Flacco at tight end, don't you? I mean, this is a guy that's made his living off throwing to tight ends.
Oh, his tight ends have been phenomenal, and you saw Ozzie Newsome do that for him. Make sure he had the right guys in there for him to be successful. So definitely, but I mean, again, I have to go through the draft and really see what's available there. And again, there is depth issues, so trading back and getting more picks, more players to push this roster forward is huge in my mind.
Did you spend any time with Kareem Jackson in Houston? My guess is you guys just missed each other.
He came in the year I left, I believe.
Now, he's a 10-year player, so that sounds about right. Because
I remember giving Alex Gibbs, or his son, Gibbs, the son, who's the defensive back coach, crap because he was there and they didn't draft my Boise State guy. They drafted Kareem Jackson over him.
It worked out all right for him,
yes.
though. Well, they bring in Kareem Jackson. They, of course, got Bryce Callahan's in the fold. We're getting, details of his deal. You got Chris Harris Jr. back there now. You still have Isaac Yiadom. They let go of Darian Stewart, though. See, I wouldn't be surprised if Kareem Jackson moves over and plays a lot of safety. I've told a few people he did move over to safety last year, and then because of corner injuries, they moved him back by about the time the Broncos started playing him. But I'm not sure who's one, who's two, and all that sort of stuff. But do you think this is a better secondary than what they had a year ago?
I do. I think Darian lost a few steps. He was one of the slowest guys in the NFL. Now you're going against Hunter Henry and those guys. He'll be back this year, and Jared Cook and Travis Kelce. Kareem Jackson playing safety and maybe locking up those tight ends is a good move and a good spot maybe for him. It might look like a dime package out there on the field against maybe a nickel or usually base, but if he can come in there and take out those really good tight ends that we have in the AFC West, you need to bring a guy like that can go in, play in and play out and make those plays.
So do you think this defense, they got Zach Kerr back, they get Shelby Harris back, I think doesn't know who they are, quality guys that you appreciate if you're in Denver, maybe the rest of the NFL doesn't know who they are. Obviously you're keeping Derek Wolfe. It looks like you're going to have better situation in the secondary. And look, man, I wouldn't be surprised if Greedy Williams is the guy they draft, for example, at 10, and maybe you just continue to add to the secondary because let's be honest about it, with the offenses you're facing, the KC offense and the LA Chargers offense is no slouch either, and the Raiders look like they're kinda... Antonio Brown's in the division all of a sudden. Do you think this defense could be back to the elite level with what they've done with the right pick or two, or how do you feel about the
if I was betting money right now, I would say DB for the Broncos first at that 10 pick if there's someone that they deem is capable of that. And yes, they need that. Obviously, we see what these other teams are doing in our division. We have to be the elite defense against them to give ourselves a chance. This team needs to have a more complete team. I feel like it's been a while since they've had that cohesiveness. It seems like it's chopped up. Offense is doing this. We're 3 and out. Now defense has to play way more plays or worry about to find a way to win a game. And it's kind of made a locker room that makes it tough to really be close, where when you have that cohesiveness, it just makes everything easier. And, with what Vic did in Chicago, we're hoping that he can do something similar here.
Yeah, I have great hope for frankly, I have more hope for the D than I do the O just at this point. Like you said, we'll wait and see. Now, I'm excited about a Cortland Sutton and a Deshaun Hamilton, but again, I don't know about you. I wouldn't mind seeing them add a veteran receiver. I still feel like you need another veteran receiver that can run you need the guy that can get you the first down, that is reliable about getting to the sticks, not coming up short. You know what I mean? Wouldn't you like to see one more veteran option in the mix there?
Yeah, with Emmanuel, you'd hope that he could take over that meeting room, but there needs to be someone else with a voice, a real voice. And he's more right now outside guy, and you're right. You were hoping that would happen with that tight end position. Maybe it will this year finally. But more than likely, we do need that guy helping Hamilton grow and maybe be the guy down the middle or just getting to the sticks and making those plays.
You did the free agency thing once upon a time. Now, I mean, you were a free agent not by choice a few times, but you did have what was that, 2005, 2006? When did you have the luxury the Jets put the offer sheet out on you? And
I was restricted, so that was after my third year. The Broncos low tendered me, so any team that signed me would have to give up their 6th-round pick to get me. And so that's when the Jets came courting me, and it was pretty cool, actually, because I was a walk-on in college, and I didn't go on a lot of trips. They were pretty lame. So I was like, well, this is awesome. I go to New York, and Chad Pennington and Curtis Martin and all them were taking me out to dinner. It was really cool.
Did you do any other trips other than that one?
No, I signed with them. I went and met with Herm Edwards, and that guy sold me. Holy cow, he's awesome. I was like, I want to go play for this guy. And then I knew they weren't going to be good, and they were horrible that year. I think they only won a few games, and he was fired, and they brought in one of the Patriots guys.
Whoever.
That guy, he was a jerk. I'm so glad I didn't.
Oh, yeah, Mangini.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, something like that. He was a tool. And we played him that year and absolutely destroyed him. So it worked out for the best. But then my cap number went so high that they released me, and that's when I went with Kubiak down to Houston. And, again, they courted me, but I was also being asked by Seahawks and 49ers at the time to go there. So it was different because, I knew everybody in Houston. And Kubiak even called on my hotel room, like, you ready to sign this or what?
Yeah.
All right.
Like, do we really need to mess with his dinner and stuff?
Yeah.
Or did you make him take you to dinner in Houston that time?
We did. It was the three of us, and it was funny because they had other free agents in town. There was like 4 or 5. And the three of our tight end coach, Brian Periani, Kubiak, and myself just sat there and drank and had a great time while these other guys were in serious meetings. Did
you enjoy like those 2 visits a lot? Was it fun? Is it a nervous time when you're a free agent like that? Like let's go back to the restricted year. Obviously it's not as much fun when you get released, I got to imagine, because you're not going to.
My ex-wife was 8 months pregnant. And I
so
didn't know
it's
what was going to happen.
nerve-wracking.
Oh, very.
Do you, we always assume you guys know this, but I've never asked a player straight up, like, do you sign contracts and know probably this year I'm not going to see that money? Did you ever look at it as just the first 2-3 years, or did you think you'd get the whole contract?
When I signed that restricted and the Broncos matched it, I thought I was going to be a Bronco for 8-9 years, probably the rest of my career. I was just planning on it. That's what I wanted to do. But the money, that was big money difference, life-changing. So being a 6th-round pick, people don't realize, they're like, oh, you're an NFL, you're a billionaire. No, that's not true. I got a $61,000 signing bonus, and then after taxes, only $34,000. And that was all I was going to get had I been cut. Had I been cut and never played again, that was the money I got in the NFL. So getting the money I got going to sign that restricted deal was huge. And no, you don't look at it. You hope your agent figures that out. My agent didn't, but my cap number went from $600,000 to $4.6 million, and the Broncos were up against the cap. So I think they knew that was probably going to happen, unless I had a Travis Kelce or Gronkowski year. Like, it was, he's probably only here for a year.
It's funny because we talked, the last podcast we did was with Mark Stout and Jason Hirsch, and we just kind of talked about being unemployed, right? And how it was interesting because a lot of us, I'm sure you can relate to this, and look, you're married to someone in the media anyway, so you kind of are living life as it is. But, it's not much different than athletes. I've told everyone wants me to get back in radio. I want to get back in radio, but I just don't know. Unfortunately, right now, as we sit here today, it just doesn't look like there's going to be a seat for me at the table. And you just wonder, is anybody going to want you back?
Well, that's the crazy thing. When I was in Houston, when I was released by McDaniels, and I was working out at a place, and I was actually done. I was like, cool, I'm done with football. But I was still working out, and I was at a place called Plex down there where it was NFL, Major League Baseball, Olympics, like all professional athletes. Jake Matthews was in high school at the time working out with us. And there was a bunch of us where I had 5 teams at one time saying, stay in shape. If our guy goes down, we're bringing you in. So you're like, all right, I'll just stay in shape. And that's what I did for 2 years. And then the UFL came calling, and we're like, all right, we can do this maybe for a little bit to get back in the NFL. And that turned out to be a bust. So it's that same situation, like, okay, I want to do this, but am I ever going to get that opportunity again? The part of the thing that people don't realize about veteran players compared for me at the time, had they signed me, they could sign 3 rookies at that same price just to get me. And that's just how it works.
It's funny because it feels like, and we got to wrap this up, and I'll tell you what, I'm going to let Jeb go because we got to get him somewhere, but then I'm going to talk to you about Dwayne Haskins here in a bit because he had his pro day today, and that is my guy. If you're going to draft a quarterback for me this year, that's the guy. I don't care about Drew Lock. If you get Daniel Jones in the middle rounds, the Duke kid, fine. But to me, it's Dwayne Haskins or just don't bother. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've had it. Like I was hanging with my buddy Jeff Legwald before we got together, and they had his pro day on, and Haskins is just cool as a cucumber. What pass you want me to throw? I'll throw it. I don't care, right? That's the guy that you want, not Mr. Script that just wants to run his scripted practice plays with his QB guru, and that's it. That's all you're going to see. Haskins is just kind of like, whatever, tell me what you want. And he calls his receiver over, let's do this. That's what they want to see. But anyway, I'll get into that a little bit more. Now I already forgot where I wanted to go with you there at the end. But I guess just to kind of put a fine point on it, what else would you like to see them do before the draft? Do you think they need 1 or 2 more signings? Would you like to see if you could just at least pick the position? I don't need a name because honestly I can't even remember. I know there's a million receivers still out there, but if you could just pick a couple position groups, what do you think the Broncos need to add before they call it a day in free agency?
Definitely O-line. That they need to be as strong as possible at that position. Obviously, what we saw last year with injuries, bringing in other people and having to move them around, that position needs to be solidified as far as a stronger group. They might don't have to be an elite group in the NFL, but at least be a strong group within each other to bring guys in and out. And then I think that secondary just has to continue to get better too, especially with what the Raiders have done in the last 2 years with the Chargers and Chiefs, the type of players they have. And I remember when Randy Moss was he traded or signed by the Raiders, and so we were in the weight room, and our secondary coaches all came hustling in there, telling our guys, "Oh my gosh, the Raiders have Randy Moss."
Just time to go to work.
Oh, I was like, man, settle down. We haven't even played him yet.
No one does paranoia like the NFL, right?
Oh my gosh, it was nuts.
All right, real quick before we let you go, you got how many brackets have you filled out, and who's your final 4?
2. I'm hoping for this, a Duke, North Carolina, round 4. But I also got Florida State and Tennessee.
All right. Who's your national champ?
UNC.
That's my guy. There we go. I'm a UNC basketball guy. I want to play lacrosse here for those that don't know. All right. That'll do it with Jeb here on the After Hours podcast. Like I said, stay with us here. I'm going to chat up Dwayne Haskins a little bit on After Hours. All right, so if you can't tell, I'm in a couple different locations recording this today. We had to bail out of Big Bills, and I had to get Jeb to a date with Bailey so that he could do his psychic reading. Anyway, I did want to kind of wrap up some thoughts. Watch the Dwayne Haskins pro day today. Now, I guess Drew Lock is going on Thursday. I'm recording this on Wednesday, and so that was the day of the Dwayne Haskins pro day. Dwayne's my guy if you're going to pick a quarterback. Now, I don't know if the Broncos should pick a quarterback right now, but to me, if you're going to go get one, go get Dwayne Haskins. Otherwise, don't mess with one in the first couple rounds, frankly. I'm not really a Drew Lock guy. Nothing against the kid. You know, I know a lot of people are excited about him, but I just see too much I don't care for. I think he falls out of throws. I think, you know, I've seen people putting videos up there, but you know, I would say this. Don't fall in love with 7-on-7 passing video because that's not real football. That's a drill designed to make quarterbacks look good. And if you want to show me a guy that you think can transfer to the next level, that guy needs to be able to throw with a corner or whoever, safety and trail, with a linebacker in front. You drop it in the window. You drop it in the bucket. I'm not worried about, you know, the fancy down the sideline kind of throw. I laid this out last year, you know. Why did Paxton Lynch not work? Because at least in Denver, all Paxton wanted to do was throw the sideline go route, the 9 routes as they call it. There's nothing to that. Tom Brady did not make his money, his living. Peyton Manning did not make his money, his living off of throwing deep balls down the sideline or deep bombs that basically were covered by one corner with no safety in the area. Those guys, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, all the top quarterbacks, you know how they make their money? By dropping passes perfectly in the bucket, over a linebacker, under a safety, in a window, having the ball in a spot as the receiver arrives right before the corner or coverage closes in on him, 15, 20 yards, moving the sticks. Those are the throws that they've got to make in time, looking off defenders. Not the throw where you're throwing to the corner of the end zone and there's no other coverage there and the closest underneath defender is 35 yards away with no chance of knocking the pass down. Those aren't the pro throws. Now, unfortunately, that's what you see a lot of in college football, where they're able to get these matchups where everything's one-on-one and the receiver's running by the defensive back and it's throw it out in front of him or just throw the back shoulder fade. And there's a talent to the back shoulder fade. But again, you can't make your living off that all the time. You've got to be able to throw the throws that I talked about. It's important to be able to throw in the middle of the field, operate with linebackers in danger in the area, and still making the right read, the right throw, hitting the right guy at the right time. And like I said, moving the sticks. It's about picking up first downs. It's about sustaining drives. You want the deep throw. Don't get me wrong. You want the deep throw. You want to be able to take advantage of defenses that are coming up and stacking the box and all this other kind of stuff. And frankly, that's probably what the Broncos are hoping to do with Joe Flacco as their quarterback now. But all that being said, this is the issue for me, is that too often we fall in love with college quarterbacks that don't have the full throwing arsenal in their bag. They're too much the quarterback that just has the one deep throw. And again, you're just not going to get those kind of open looks when it comes to playing at the pro level. It's not going to be that easy. It's not going to be that wide open. That's just not what this game is at the next level. So that's why, to me, Dwayne Haskins, as I said to Jeb, he makes all the throws. He was out there at his pro day. What do you want to see? I'll throw it for you. Let me go under center. You're worried about me being under center? Well, let me get under center here. Let me take some dropbacks. Let me plant that fifth foot, or take that fifth step, plant that foot, and throw the ball in time, accurately, where it needs to go. He's a little high with a couple of his throws. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't Andrew Luck-like, but I'll tell you what, he shows he's got a nice, easy arm, nice, easy motion, plenty of arm, and it just is, he's just not afraid of anything you're asking him to do. I'd be leery as you watch these pro days, watch the guys that stick to the script and that's all they do. There's too many guys, these pro days can be misleading in a lot of ways, but one of the best ways that they're misleading is you get a guy that's just running a script. He's practiced these routes with the receivers. They've got it down. He's prepared for a couple weeks to get this done. What's it been? A month since the combine? A couple weeks since, 3 weeks since the combine? These guys have been spending their days getting ready to throw these orchestrated throws. It's why some guys don't throw at the combine. One of the reasons why I take a nod to the guys that throw at the combine is you're throwing with receivers you don't know. So, and look, agents and money and all this plays in, and I understand some guys are trying to do it. If you're not comfortable that you're going to be able to make all the throws, then it's very smart that you don't throw at the combine. But for me, if you're looking for a true franchise guy, if you're looking for a good starting quarterback, if you're looking for a top 10, top 15 guy, guess what? You've got to be able to do what we're talking about that Dwayne Haskins kind of did out there today. And until I see Drew Lock not fall away from stuff, and you know what? He'll probably look fine at his pro day. He'll probably stand in there. He'll probably have the perfect posture. He'll probably hold the throwing motion. But you know what? What happens when a defensive end who's 300 pounds is chasing you, 330 pounds, and they're coming with bad intentions, and they're looking to hit you as hard as they can, and if they can, put their weight on you? You're going to go back to your old habits. You're going to go back to what your throwing motion is. You're going to revert back to muscle memory. So don't fall in love with the pro day workouts too much. And again, I'm not trying to tell you that I did that through Dwayne Haskins' pro day. I'm just telling you, there's a guy that was willing to make all the throws, and he's really the only the people that I trust tell me he's the only pro-ready quarterback right now. So if you don't get Dwayne Haskins, don't mess around with the quarterback, to me, in the first maybe couple rounds. And you know what? With the class that's coming next year, with the class that's coming the year after, you've got two options. You either go ahead and you just sit this one out, you don't draft a quarterback early and you don't worry about it, and you let Joe Flacco be comfortable for a year, and you know what? You see what next year brings. Or you go ahead and you trade up for Dwayne Haskins, because I don't think he's going to make it to you. Someone's going to go get him. But if there's a guy to go get, it's Dwayne Haskins. And, I know a lot of people love Kyler Murray and what he can do, but again, another set of eyes that I trust has told me that Kyler Murray throws a lot of just one-on-one ball. It's not the ball in the tight window, this, that, the other. I know he's an exciting playmaker. I know he's the classic college guy, won the Heisman, and gave a lot of people a lot of joy with how he plays football at the college level. And I hope it works out for him. I have major concerns about the size, and we'll just see what happens. I don't know that he's been asked to make the throws that he was going to need to make come pro time. But, look, I can tell you this, I'm not always right either. It's that simple. I'm not always right. So I've been wrong about plenty of guys. I trusted Baker Mayfield
better than I trust Kyler Murray. How about that? But I wasn't going to tell you I was all in and right about everybody last year. I wasn't. I still think Sam Darnold's going to show you something by the time it's all said and done. But Baker certainly, even though I was told he would start off the best, he still started off better than even I thought he would. So, you know, it is what it is. But if you're asking me to pick a quarterback, I'm taking Dwayne Haskins. You know, and I guess we'll see what the Cardinals do. You know, Cardinals could still, I think the Cardinals still have to think about Nick Bosa there because they need a pass rusher. So it's going to be an interesting time here. I think it could be a very interesting time. And as far as the Broncos go, to me, I'd love to see an offensive player get top 10 for them for the first time in a while. They went Von Miller and they went Bradley Chubb the last couple times they're in the top 5. If they stay at 10, and I predict that's probably what they'll do if I had to guess. I would like to see it be, if it had to be, if you stay defense, I don't have a problem with it. If you go Greedy Williams, I don't have an issue with it. You all of a sudden have major passing weapons you have to deal with. We'll see what happens with the ugly case of Tyreek Hill, and I'm going to call it ugly right now because these accusations just aren't what you want to hear when the kid has the history that he has from college. And the reality is that, I want guys to turn things around. I want guys, if they aren't being good human beings, to make sure they are being good human beings. So I guess we'll wait to see what comes from that situation. But there's certainly an ugly history there. Regardless, the Broncos have Travis Kelce to worry about. They've got Sammy Watkins to worry about. They've got plenty of weapons that they have to be concerned about with the Kansas City Chiefs. So ultimately, we're going to see. But it's pro day time. Trust me, this After Hours podcast, it's probably going to focus on plenty of football in the midweeks for a lot of you jonesing for it. I also wanted to offer you a quick explanation. I mean, between the winner last week and then we had Stranahan's was going to be the spot Sunday, and then we all remembered it was St. Patrick's Day, place where they have plenty of whiskey. Probably not the place that we want to try to get a podcast done. It's usually pretty happening and alive when we go there as it is. I don't know what it would have been like on St. Patrick's Day, so we chose to just kind of not do that. We'll be back out there Sunday at 1:30 if you want to join us at Stranahan's, and we'll see. We were hoping to get a GQ barbecue one in there. Of course, Juicy Burger's been good to the podcast as well. These are all folks that we try to kind of hit these spots, and if you ever want to come out, I'll try to be better about tweeting out where we're going to go, but it's been a little unsettled, like even with today with Jeb. We didn't get that quite locked down until we got ready to record the podcast. But if you want to join us, please come by, talk some sports with us. So that'll do it for this edition of the After Hours podcast. Go ahead and, if you don't mind, give us a like, give us a follow on whatever you're listening to. Maybe if you don't mind, subscribe to it on Apple iTunes, because that's probably the easy way to get it right now. We'll talk to you after Sunday's conversation on the After Hours podcast. I'm Andy Lindahl.